Assalamu alaikum dear students and welcome back to class. Today we will talk about recommendation report, and first of all let's have a look at the contents of today's lecture. First of all, we will look at the definition of the recommendations. Then we will talk about the scope of recommendations. We will talk about the tone and the style of recommendations, and how to phrase recommendations, where to put recommendations in the report, and the format of the recommendations in the report. Now, the report which is written to recommend a certain course of action is called a recommendation report. And in some situations, it is written to suggest a certain plan as it is compulsory because of circumstances. And sometimes it is written voluntarily. Sometimes it is necessary, it is compulsory, and sometimes it is written voluntarily if someone feels that by following the suggested plan there is a room for improvements. Sometimes you are asked to do the recommendations, and sometimes you jump up and you share some thoughts about how to improve that, right? Now, as far as the tone and the style of recommendation is concerned, the tone of the reports must be persuasive and convincing, and it must not be authoritative, because you are doing the recommendation, so you should not need to be authoritative, as it discourages the readers. For example, the present mode of production is quite inefficient and ineffective. So this is how you should be writing. Instead of the above sentence, the following statement is more persuasive. When you say that the proposed plan will increase the productivity by 2%, so this sounds more reasonable, and this sounds more you can say that persuasive and convincing, whereas this style, it looks it looks authoritative. Now, the report must contain the advantages of the recommendations, the recommendations of the proposed method, in order to reinforce the persuasion. Okay, and then it should increase. For example, when you say that increase in production will lead towards efficiency and effectiveness, basically you are talking about the advantages that can be achieved by following that method. Similarly, when you say that more market share can be captured as the product is highly demanded, so here more market share can be captured, so that is the advantage. This is the recommendation, and this is the advantage. Efficiency and effectiveness will lead towards the better performance appraised of the employees. Okay, so this is the benefit. And then you have to discuss the disadvantages of the previous method as well. Okay, like the whatever the method was adopted previously, you can talk about the shortcomings of that previous method as well. Now, how to phrase the recommendations? There are two ways to phrase the recommendations. The first one is the informal, and the second one is formal. Now, in informal method, in this method, the recommendations appears as a sentence towards the end of the report. For example, the proposed teaching methodology will enhance the interest level of the students to this course. So this kind of recommendations are basically called the informal recommendations. While formal recommendations, they require to put the recommendations in an organized manner. Now, all the parts are numbered and they are listed according to their priority, and there may be the use of the subheadings if it is required. So this is the difference between formal and informal. If you are doing the informal recommendations, it is simply in the form of sentences, and if you are doing the formal recommendations, so then it will follow a proper structure. You'll have to do the numbering, and then you have to number the points in the order of their priority, and then you can use the subheadings as well. Now, where to put the recommendations in the report? In case of informal recommendations, the writer puts the recommendations near the end of the report, and in the case of formal recommendations, the appropriate place is near the start of the report. Okay, so in the start of the report, it is done. And this is the format of the recommendation report. First of all, you give the introduction, then the problem statement, then the recommendation statement in the formal recommendation report. Then once you do the recommendation statement, you mention the scope and the plan of the report. Then you need to do the extended or the explained recommendation. You need to extensively explain that. Then you need to discuss the advantages, disadvantages of the proposed idea or the challenge. and that you need to discuss the advantages of the present idea. Now you need to first mention the disadvantages of the previously used idea, and then you need to discuss the advantages of your idea, and then you need to give the summary of the suggestion, and then finally you need to give the summary or the conclusion of the overall report, right, or the conclusion of the overall report. So this is the structure that we follow in the recommendation report, and in next class I'll give you a prompt, I'll give you a scenario, and I'll ask you to write a recommendation report based on that. So if you have any questions or any query in your mind, feel free to ask your questions in the comment box, and in the next class we will talk about references and plagiarism and how to avoid that. So stay connected, and see you in the next class inshallah. Allah Hafiz.